William, stay with us. Let me bring in two other voices, our CNN politics reporter and editor-at-large, Chris Cillizza, and CNN political analyst, April Ryan. And so I still have more questions for you, William. Just as far as, we played the clip where he talks about, Wittes talks about the color of the wallpaper was that these were not honorable people. Just one more quickly to you. Did he feel that the president wasn't honorable?
He did, and I specifically said that. I said, you don't mean just the administration. And he said, no, Comey felt that all the way up to the president that there was not honorable way of approaching their interactions. And one of the questions that I asked Wittes was, if Comey felt this was so bad, if this was so egregious, if he was asking you for a loyalty oath, why not quit? Why not blow the whistle? Why not go public with all of this? And Wittes said that his sense that Comey felt he could manage it, that it didn't rise to the level of needing to quit. And Wittes used a phrase saying, I think Comey could throw enough brushback pitches at the president to keep him at bay and manage the relationship. Of course, we know several weeks after that last meeting between Comey and Wittes, Comey was fired.
All right. But look, there are open questions about how Comey really felt and what he was willing to do about it. Cillizza, people are taking it out of context. But to Brangham's point, there was a window of opportunity when he testified. He was asked in context about whether the DOJ had done anything to impede him. He said, no, there's been nothing like that. McCabe said the same thing. But they were talking about the DOJ, not the president or the White House. But it was an opportunity. He wanted to throw a brushback pitch, to use that expression. He could have done it. He didn't.
He could have. I guess I would dispute the brushback pitch, though, if he had done that, Chris. I think that would be a throwing at Donald Trump's head. Because, look, I don't think you can say, well, no, I haven't gotten any pushback from the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General, but the president did say to me. I mean, that would not be something that you could subtly insert into a conversation or into testimony. But look, I do think that that's the fundamental question here is if on February 14th, Donald Trump, as according to the memo reported from James Comey, asked the FBI director to either curb or end an investigation into his fired national security advisor, that's an odd thing to say, like, I could just keep that under control, right? I mean, that would seem to be obstruction of justice, or at least an attempted obstruction of justice. And you would think Comey would seek someone out there. So that to me, if you're Donald Trump and his legal team, you're looking for ways to either poke holes in Comey's story or simply raise questions about it. That feels like the strongest argument they can make.
So, April, what did you think, though, just taking it back 2 steps to the moment in the Oval Office, big law enforcement, ceremony, Comey feels the need, obviously, to show up, and it's the long walk across the Oval where he extends his long arm of the 6 foot, 8 inches tall figure to shake the president's hand. And, Cillizza was saying earlier today, well, listen, this is the president who is a former reality TV star, astutely aware of the cameras on him and wanting to make this this scene or this moment. How do you read this?
Well, it was in the Blue Room.
Blue Room, forgive me.
Yeah, the Blue Room, yeah. So, but either way, it was very uncomfortable looking. It looked like the president did not understand the separation of powers, and they weren't supposed to look chummy. And what I'm thinking is that what's happening is that many of these officials, these high-ranking officials in intelligence, the FBI, what have you, at that time was giving this president the benefit of the doubt because he still has a learning curve. And I say that and supporting that, what I'm saying, with the fact that, like, intelligence, just recently with President Trump talking about the issues with the Russian leaders in the Oval Office, the fact that they did not give him source and methods because there is a thought that this president is not able to handle it. And at this piece with Comey, I'm wondering if the president just did not understand yet the significance between the separation of two organizations not to look chummy. So I'm wondering if that's what Comey was trying to do by giving him the benefit of the doubt and not pushing forward saying, yes, he tried to obstruct justice. Right. So it's a lot into this whole situation.
Right. Let's not make too much of a moment either, though. I mean, it is interesting to diagnose from a credibility standpoint. Wittes makes such a point to you, William, about what this hug was and wasn't. That's why we keep showing it. But at the end of the day, the president may have just been trying to make a nice gesture. and it moves on to another thing. Now, here's something that's been a little bit underneath the headlines, and maybe wrongly so. The vice president says, I didn't know about this Flynn stuff until it came out in the news reports. Elijah Cummings has return receipt requested, basically, in the form of an email of a letter he sent on November 18th, clearly outlining concerns about Flynn's relationships to Turkey. That's November 18th. Will Brangham, what does that do in terms of the vice president's suggestion he didn't know anything about this? Cummings says either he's lying or he was sloppy.
Well, I think that's the right answer to this. And until we hear testimony from the vice president, we don't really know. The memos and letters get sent all the time. I get sent things all the time. It's not a guarantee that I've read it. It's certainly, you would assume, if the man is running the transition, if he is as organized as
but
we
he
are
knows they
believe,
got the letter. Cummings says he knows that the office got the letter, and the VP has said he didn't know anything about it.
Certainly. And again, I couldn't speak to what the vice president did or didn't know, but that certainly is the question. It seems like the evidence was there before him. Whether he looked at it, whether he took it on board, we just don't know yet.
April, you say sloppy?
You know, I want to say this. I think that interview with Congressman Cummings was very strong and powerful. His words were strong. It could very well be sloppy, or he could be lying, because not only did the congressman say that, and he had receipts that he sent that letter in November, but you also had Flynn running around with the transition officials telling him, yeah, I'm being investigated. So they knew something was going on, and not to check. I mean, I think the congressman is absolutely right. If they're not lying, it's very, very sloppy.
Can I just make one argument in favor of sloppy, which is, remember, and this is what Donald Trump's doing again, but remember that Chris Christie and former Michigan Congressman Mike Rogers were replaced in the middle of the transition, early on in the transition, by Pence. So you had a lot of chaos, not only the kind caused by Donald Trump, but a lot of chaos internally as well. There's a full turnover staff-wise almost in the middle of this thing. So that doesn't excuse it.
But Chris, Flynn was running around talking about he's being investigated. So that raises a lot of questions right there. Something is not right.
All right.
There are a lot of questions.
We're working on getting those questions answered. We know there are multiple investigations into this. We need facts. I want to thank all of you this morning here.